This is an interesting one. Pete Hegseth has been up to all sorts of no good and chaotic actions that are raising a lot of alarm. One of his recent policies that is just another attack on the First Amendment and just on the American public getting valuable information from reporters. It was so absurd that even Trump had to bail on him and just go, I don't know what that dude's up to. So I'll show you that in a second here. But here's the background. Pentagon demands journalists pledge to not obtain unauthorized material. So they're implementing a new policy at the Pentagon to force journalists to not release any information that's unauthorized according to the Pentagon. Not that's classified, that's unauthorized, that's not something the Pentagon wants released, which is like the most important stuff that journalists do. Whenever they do a puff piece on, Pete Hegseth did the push-ups, like, okay, that's not exactly gonna get you a journalist award. It's the stuff that usually the Pentagon didn't want you to report on, even relating to unclassified material. They're implementing this policy. The Trump administration unveiled a new crackdown Friday on journalists at the Pentagon, saying it will require them to pledge they won't gather any information, even unclassified, that hasn't been expressly authorized for release, and will revoke the press credentials of those who do not obey. If you release anything we don't want, you're out. You can't report on the Pentagon. You can't have any access. CNN reported on this, and the reason I'm this amped is because I was seeing other people who have a lot of experience in Pentagon reporting just horrified by this, because it could degrade a very important function of journalistic entities, which is their access and inclusion in the Pentagon, and then their independence to keep that access while they do whatever reporting they see fit in the public's interest. Here's CNN. While you watch this, please do, if you appreciate the show, click the subscribe button. Millions of people watch every month who aren't subscribed. Makes all the difference if you just click that below the videos.
News outlets are gearing up for a legal battle against the Pentagon. A new policy is demanding that reporters with a Pentagon credential sign a pledge not to obtain or use unauthorized material in their reporting. But when asked about the policy, President Trump seemed to be on a different page.
Should the Pentagon be in charge of deciding what reporters can report on?
No, I don't think so.
Are you okay with them limiting that?
Nothing stops recording, you know.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
So you got to do something pretty wild in trying to muzzle reporters for Trump to go, no, what, really? Did Pete do that? That's weird.
Hegseth's office has already banned some news outlets, including CNN, from media workspaces and made some areas of the Pentagon restricted to journalists without an official escort. CNN chief media analyst Brian Stelter is with us now. Brian, tell us about this new policy and how extraordinary this is.
Well, the Wall Street Journal is calling it deeply disturbing. Other publications are vowing to push back on this, and there could be a legal battle in the days ahead. But first, newsroom leaders and media lawyers are evaluating this new memo from the Pentagon and trying to figure out the smartest pathway forward. It does seem that Hegseth and his press office want journalists to be reduced simply to parrots, simply repeating Pentagon talking points that are approved by the U.S. military to make Hegseth and his team look good. But of course, journalists work for the public. We're trying to serve the public interest to find out what the military is doing in the name of all Americans. So,
yeah, it is really scary. They're not pretending at all. I'll show you a little bit more CNN reporting, then we'll try to have some fun with what are the types of things that Hegseth's trying to hide here, and why he's getting so aggressive on that. Which, as a quick side note, one of the things we heard, I think, from the folks who Hegseth fired and the reporting about inside the Pentagon and how chaotic it's been under him, the Secretary of War, as he wants us to call him, is he will spend so much time, too much time, focused on leaks and what's being reported in the media and trying to track down who gave this, who was the source for Caitlin Collins reporting, and that it'll get in the way of just leading because he's so, nice photo, Hegseth, so preoccupied with leaks to the point that he's doing this, a little bit more reporting.
On the same day that the meeting is supposed to take place in Quantico, a deadline is in place for Pentagon reporters to sign a pledge demanded by Secretary Hegseth, saying reporters with a Pentagon credential not obtain or use unauthorized material in their reporting, even if the information is totally unclassified, and reporters can lose their credentials and access to the Pentagon if they violate this. News agencies are gearing up for a major legal battle. This is a subject close to my heart. I'm a former Pentagon correspondent. We're not supposed to be stenographers for the U.S. military. The only thing that they want, this current administration, is for reporters to report what's out there.
This is my point. Wolf Blitzer, I mean, he's speaking from experience. He was a Pentagon reporter during the Civil War. And he is... They didn't... Okay, cool. Yeah. He's not old enough to have been a Pentagon. It's like an 8. It's like because he's been on CNN forever. Whatever. All right, fine. It didn't land. Fine. It didn't land. Fine. It's fine.
Informal public Pentagon press releases and not do any serious reporting on subjects that the Pentagon doesn't necessarily want the American people to know about. This is outrageous.
I think you captured it just so pointedly. It's not only outrageous, it's deeply concerning. I mean, freedom of the press is what distinguishes the United States from other countries around the world who try and choke information off from the press. And you know that building, the press, I mean, while you can have contentious relationships sometimes, and certainly when I was there, we disagreed on stories, but press have free reign of the Pentagon and can go to any single floor and ask the questions because the Pentagon and the Department of Defense is so big. You need that type of access. And so to really choke off information, it's going to come at the detriment to Secretary Hegseth. I don't think any news organization or serious reporter is going to sign this pledge because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to report just on information just given to you by the Pentagon. You know this, CNN has done incredible reporting and exposed stories to the public's eye, whether it was on Iraq and weapons of mass destruction to the withdrawal of Afghanistan. And
or, back when you reported on George Washington, like it's important reporting that has to be done. Wolf knows. Thank you.
You said it so confidently, it just went right over my head.
You're like, yeah, Civil War. Very cool. Very cool. I don't say that as an age joke, but just that Wolf, I feel like I was 3 years old and CNN was on and Wolf Blitzer was on. Like, he's just been there, it feels like forever.
You can always see to eye, but it's important that the public have the facts.
Certainly important, and I don't think any serious journalist would ever sign a document like that promising to report only what the Pentagon says you can report publicly.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. So what is it that Hegseth doesn't want to go through again? Why would he do such a draconian act, all in the interest of preventing unauthorized material, unflattering reporting from happening? Well, he doesn't want to have to go in front of cameras again and answer questions. Yes, our regular viewers, our diehards out there, you know what clip is coming. Get ready, and we're going to do the head jut together. It's going to be a collective. Everyone in the audience, call Jay, we're all going to do it together. He doesn't want to be asked about how he accidentally was texting about classified material in a Signal chat with a journalist that he accidentally pulled into, or Mike Waltz, whoever it was, pulled in, got sucked into it, and that whole thing, because then he'll have to have this whole embarrassing saga again.
Information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic, and were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does.
It's so iconic. I hope you are all doing it with us at home. Podcast listeners, you might be a little confused, but every time you hear that clip of him doing that list of the hoaxes of the journalist at issue, he does this really funny like head jut, like a little one of those birds. And it wasn't better than whenever he had more time to prep his response.
Do you have anything you want to say, sir, about this
what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
And then podcast listeners, I'll describe. He's like looking around to all the different cameras, and he's so stimulated. It's really, really interesting. Now we're still trying to figure out. I told you yesterday that Hegseth scheduled this highly unusual, potentially even unprecedented. I heard a former general say he'd never heard of anything like this. Meeting with hundreds of generals and admirables. Well, they're admirable, so I just think of that when I think of an admiral. But from all over the world, people have to travel in to do this unprecedented meeting. All of the military's top leadership, hundreds of people who I was reading and some reporting that military analysts are concerned about the security implications of all of them leaving their stations and what that could do to military readiness. But regardless, everyone's wondering, what is this? Hegseth didn't give an explanation for why they were meeting. Very ominous. There's some details emerging, though, you can see here from the Washington Post. And if this is correct, this is pardon the overly simplistic term, but the dumbest reason to bring in from around the world our highest military leaders. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered 100 generals to travel on short notice from around the world to hear him make a short speech on military standards and the warrior ethos. Hey, email? Hey, Zoom? You couldn't have done a Zoom? Lethality. We're the Department of War. Words matter. And war, the reason that we won World War II, but then we stopped winning stuff, according to them, is that war wasn't in the name of the Department of Defense because we got woke and we became a bunch of woke soy boys. And but that's not me insulting all of the brave men and women who have fought in our military since then, but they were a bunch of woke soy boys because we went with the Department of Defense, the Department of War. We need a warrior ethos. That's why we're the Department of War, because we're the warrior ethos. Lethality. Devastation. Devastating strikes. You couldn't have recorded that and sent it over iMessage? That's gonna be the speech. Instead of pronouns, we're doing precision strikes. Instead of non-binary, we're doing break neck speed planes. Instead of gay, we're doing great. That's gonna be the speech. So, did we need to bring all of them? Seems a little unnecessary to me.